It is that time of year, guys. It is already that time of year. It is Astros lineup speculation season. It is, what the hell is Dusty Baker doing? What the hell is he saying? People are reacting strongly to some comments that he had about the number 2 spot in the lineup. This is from a write-up by Chandler Rome. Dusty Baker ended any speculation surrounding the second spot in his batting order Sunday, sticking to a larger sample size of success over a brief, albeit brilliant breakthrough on the sport's biggest stage, writes Chandler Rome. If Brantley is in the lineup, Brantley is number 2. I know Jeremy Peña's been good, but he ain't been good as long as Bradley. I like that Chandler provided a lot of detail in this write-up for the baseball dummies like myself. I'll admit it. It's not just Brantley's career-long ability to get on base. It's also that you could stagger 3 left-handed hitters if you have Brantley second, Jordan fourth, Kyle Tucker sixth. And also think about it from this perspective. Jeremy Peña strikes out a lot, right? Do you want somebody who strikes out a lot to be in the 2 hole? Probably not, even if the guy is a really good hitter. And it would be great for Jeremy Peña to be, in between Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman. But I get Baker's logic here. At the same time, Peña was hitting 290 when he was in the 2 spot last year. And it was a limited sample size that didn't happen until the end of the year when Dusty Baker was apparently banging his fists or hands on the table to get Peña in the 2 spot, which I guess was met with opposition by, at the very least, James Click, if not more, in the Astros organization. He wanted to have Peña in the 2 spot. Peña did well in the 2 spot. But I do guess you have to defer. My big question is just about what Brantley's going to be like when he gets back. Can we make assumptions that Brantley's going to be the same player? I suppose that we should think he's going to be okay. It's a shoulder injury, but I don't know. He's in his mid-30s. It's strange that it's this cut and dry. And maybe we just have to shut up about anything that has to do with the Astros lineup, just given the way that the playoffs worked for Dusty Baker. Can you really point at anything Dusty Baker did poorly in the playoffs? I know some people pointed out he left starting pitchers in a little bit too long. Maybe he could have been using his relievers a little bit differently in certain aspects of the World Series. But there is a part of me that feels like maybe we should temporarily shut up with Dusty Baker, even though I don't want to. I want Jeremy Peña to be in the 2 hole, but I think I have to shut up on this front. There is a lot of sound logic behind having Brantley in the 2. I guess I'm just kind of skeptical that Brantley's going to be the same guy that he was before. 713-780-3776 if you want to play Let's Guess Dusty Baker's lineup. 713-780-ESPN. Akalot says on Twitter, twitch.tv/ESPN975. Sean, how much Astros conversation last year, specifically on this station, and maybe even more specifically on the Killer Bees, was about Dusty Baker's lineup management? I know I was doing it a lot. It was mainly because I was like, why the hell is Martin Maldonado catching over Christian Vasquez? And there was definitely a lot of Yuli Gurriel over Trey Mancini, but Baker ended up being right on that front, too.
Yeah, when I think about the stretch like May, June, July of last year, and a year where the Astros did win the World Series, all I think about are Dusty's lineups. The Mancini. James Click needs to make a move at the deadline, and then it turned into you need to actually play Mancini.
Yeah.
Hashtag play Mancini. And then Lance McCullers injury updates talking to Mark Berman after he did a warm-up session at Minute Maid Park and said, I feel good. Hopefully I'm there soon.
I'm feeling great. I might be back in 3 years.
Yeah, it was like, I'm feeling great. I'm ready to go. Hopefully I'm there, by the end of the month. And he did that for 3 months.
It was a long stretch.
Maybe even longer than 3.
And then after that, we were crushing Dusty. And I mean, look, Dusty won. I think we have to shut up for a while with Dusty. But there is a part of me. I'm not resisting here. I get it. All the logic as to why you would put Brantley back there as opposed to Peña makes sense. And it really is as simple as sometimes the simple explanation is a good explanation. Saying that Brantley's done it longer, that is a sufficeable explanation. It does work. It's only been a limited amount of time for Peña, and he does strike out a lot. Peña swings at a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'm not saying he's like Vladimir Guerrero or something like that, because Vladimir Guerrero would swing at a pitch that like hit the dirt like 5 feet in front of home plate. And he would also hit it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Peña does need to, I think, be a little bit choosier at the plate.
And it's important to note that when Baker was banging the table to have Peña in the 2-hole in the playoffs,
There was no Michael Brantley.
Michael Brantley was out.
Exactly.
So it is a different situation now with the team that Dusty has on the field. And so, yeah, I think it's perfectly fine to be like, I don't understand what Dusty is doing, ... but I trust Dusty.
Yeah, I think we all got to trust Dusty now. We do. And I thought last year there was at times too much criticism of him. I was skeptical, but there were some people that were pointing at him as like, oh man, he's holding this team back. Was he? I don't know. It seemed to be a very strong take considering how many wins they had last year, how good they were. They won the AL West by 100 games. You know, there were moments where you're like, I don't get it. But now I think you could just say, I don't get it, and I'm just gonna let it play out.
In Dusty, we trust.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you could say in Jim Crane I trust, you should be able to say in Dusty I trust. So I'm gonna trust Dusty on it, even though Jeremy Peña is the prince of the Paul Gallant show, and we want to see more Jeremy Peña.
Yes. Thank you, Dusty Baker. You have now earned our trust after 106 wins in the regular season and a World Series win. You have now...
It's so funny.
We're like he's getting knighted. We're the baseball bat on one shoulder, baseball bat on the other shoulder. Rise. We now trust you.
I dub thee Sir Baker, first of his name. He invented Sir Dusty Baker, inventor of the high five, friend of Hank Aaron, swaggerlicious he doth be. Pandorina Brown is back to pandering. Does that work? Working title, Sean? What do you say? No, yes, no, yes.
What about just like Pandana Brown?
Yeah, it doesn't work because he's not a panda. It has to be Pandorina Brown. I think Dana Brown panders a lot. There's a microphone in front of him. He was on the Astros flagship over the weekend, and he continues to speak up about negotiations that the Astros are having with guys that they want to sign to extensions. He said negotiations with Kyle Tucker would most likely be tabled in the regular season if nothing gets done in spring training. Kyle Tucker, by the way, off to a really good start. More on that in a moment. He also said this: we're still in communication with Kyle Tucker's agent, Casey Close. We're optimistic. We think something can get done. We've also started talking to Framber Valdez and his agent. I don't like that he's talking with the players, because I think it puts pressure on the players to agree to a more team-friendly deal. You only do something like this, put it out in the open, if you are trying to perhaps create pressure. And that's possible. It happens. I see no reason to say, hey, we're talking about the extension. The extension either happens or it doesn't. I appreciate Dana Brown regularly making himself available to speak, but it feels like every single time he's speaking to us, he's pandering. Get the deal done? I'll believe you. The Christian Javier deal was awesome. But this is a couple of times now that we've heard him talk about Kyle Tucker's contract and Framber Valdez's contract. There's no extension. I think you should shut up. Like, don't tell me you're working on something. I don't care. Everyone's working on something. Everyone's working on being their best selves. Doesn't mean they're being their best selves every single day. Get the deal done. Otherwise, don't talk about this, okay? Otherwise, this is just straight pandering. And everyone seems to be believing everything that Dana Brown says. I'm pausing, being a little skeptical here. It's not to say that I think Dana Brown is a liar. I'm just saying you're saying all the things people want to hear. People want Jose Altuve to get an extension. By the way, no extension yet. People want Alex Bregman to get an extension. By the way, no extension yet. He's already weighed on those two. He's weighing in on Framber Valdez and Kyle Tucker. Do any of them, and I'll listen. Signing Christian Javier ahead of time, That deal was the easiest one to get done of all 5 of these contracts because this is a guy who still has not technically proven himself as a regular season starter. These 4, meanwhile, are, in the case of Altuve and Bregman, longtime Astro fan favorites who could make a ton of money on the open market. And in the case of Framber Valdez and Kyle Tucker, same thing, where they have pelts on the wall that Christian Javier does not to this point. So how about do any of these things before talking about them as much as you're talking about them, Dana?
Pandaner Brown?
Pandana Brown, that works.
I was also thinking Dana Brown Noser.
Ooh, that's better.
Okay.
That's better. But it's not like he's kissing the ass of the fans. It's
Yeah.
he's not quite kissing their ass. If he was talking about James Click and he would, or excuse me, not James Click. If he was talking about Jim Crane, and it was like, oh man, it's the best boss in America. Like, okay, yeah, that's different.
That all I've been doing this segment is looking at synonyms for pander, see if I can fit it into Dana Brown easier. It's very hard.
And I want to make
it's hard work.
I want to make it clear with Dana Brown. I don't think he's doing a bad job or anything like that. I just don't like it when a general manager is this vocal about things when nothing's been done. It feels like you're just trying to make it seem like the organization is doing everything it can to bring somebody back. And teams do this all the time. It's hilarious to me when a team acts like it was a part of the bidding war in baseball free agency for a player that they had no chance at getting. And you'll see that too. Like the Detroit Tigers were really, really, really interested in acquiring insert great player. No, they weren't. They're just trying to throw their names in there so that fans don't think that they suck. Orioles, same thing. Like teams do this a lot. The Astros don't want to be involved in those conversations. Hey, you're one of these teams that says you're going to do something and doesn't actually get it done.